which we've played a bit in the last couple of weeks, but we love it. We're going to give it another crack. It's called Pop-Up Storybook. Now, I asked it last week, and there weren't too many people that had one, but when you were younger, who had a pop-up storybook? You'd open it, things would pop up, there'd be tabs. Yeah, exactly. So they know what we're talking about. What's it? Because when you get the improvisers, you might want to brush the stage, there's stones all over it. We're going to get 4 of the improvisers to lay down and be our book. I'm going to be the storyteller. So you guys can get down and we're going to give it a bit of a demo. What happens is I'll be telling the story, and when I go like this, I'm turning the page. They will then leap up, and we'll be presenting the story. And they've got tags I can pull to make them move, or to make them say things, or see what they're thinking. And then if I run back across the other way, the page goes down. Simple as that. But what we need from you guys, what is a well-known nursery rhyme or fairy tale that we're retelling? We've done Hansel and Gretel and Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. Welcome. Welcome to story time. I hope all you kids are having a good day out there. Today we're going to read you a new story. It's the Little Red Riding Hood. You know that one. The little girl that goes astray. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Why don't we get on with the story? Little Red Riding Hood was at her house one day with her mother. And her mother said that Grandma was sick. And she was going to send Little Red Riding Hood off with a basket of goodies to go and see Grandma. Let's see what's happening at Little Red Riding Hood's house. Oh, look. What a happy family they were. Here's Mum, I think. And here's Sister with the spuds. And here's Little Red Riding Hood. She's wondering why Mum's baking a special cake. Let's see why Mum's baking this special cake. It's for Grandma. It's full of hash. It'll make her feel a lot better. Sweet! Just curious. Let's see what the sister's going to do with the spud.
Why didn't you give Nana a spud? The old bitch that'll keep her happy.
Little Red Riding Hood, being a caring, sharing young granddaughter that she was going to take this to Grandma. Let's see what she has to say.
I think Grandmother would really enjoy the hash brown cookies because her glaucoma's got very, very bad. I've heard marijuana is quite good for it, so I think she'd enjoy it.
So Little Red Riding Hood took her basket of goodies and set off down the trail. Now her mum had given her some advice before she left. Don't talk to strangers. But Little Red Riding Hood, she was an adventurous type girl. So she came to a fork in the road in the forests, and one said Grandma's house, and the other one said very dangerous dark way to Grandma's house. So she went that way. She was a male, she would have stopped and asked for direction. Well, didn't say it was the 90s version of the story. So Little Red Riding Hood was progressing through the forest, but there were all sorts of dark and dangerous things in the forest. Let's have a look. Ooh, the scary forest. Let's see if we pull all the tabs on the trees. Let's see what they do. Hope they didn't scare you, kiddies. Let's see what state of mind Little Red Riding Hood's in, though.
I've been nibbling on some of those cookies, so I feel great.
Little Red Riding Hood came to a clearing, and there, standing in the middle of the clearing, was a huge, muscly wood chopper. She stood and watched him for a while, and then she approached him, and they gazed at each other. The wood chopper had just finished carving a statue of himself. stared at Little Red Riding Hood. They'd been in the forest for many months now on their own, just each other for company. Let's see what the woodcutter's thinking, shall we?
Yeah.
Little Red Riding Hood, being the sweet, innocent young girl she is, she inquired of the woodcutter how he was going.
Have you got any wood I can use?
With all of the sexual innuendo and cliches aside, the woodchopper warned her to watch out for the wolf that had been hunting round the forest that very day. But Little Red Riding Hood cared nothing for the wolf. She strode on happily until she came to a tree. Standing next to it was that very wolf. The wolf was going to try a subtle plan. He was going to inquire where Riding Hood was going and perhaps cut her off at the pass. Let's see what he says.
Where are you going so I can cut you off at the pass?
Those cliches never get old. Little Red Riding Hood, just innocent and unawares, answers truthfully to the wolf.
I'm going to Grandma's house. Give her some hash cookies.
Let's see those scary trees in a minute. So Little Red Riding Hood skipped merrily off the path. The wolf raced to the shortcut to Grandma's house and arrived there and knocked on the door. Grandma opened the door and the wolf burst in. Here's the wolf reaching for the doorknob. Grandma was trying to close the door on the wolf, but I think he was going to be too strong. Let's see what he plans to do with Grandma, shall we?
I'm going to eat her all up, pretend to be her. Then when Red Riding comes round with those hash brown cookies, I'm going to eat them. Then I'm going to eat her. Then I'm going to eat the woodcutter. Then I'm going to take over the world. Then I'm going to book Kosovo. Then I'm going to kill Gary Nicholson.
The wolf was obviously starved for attention. Let's see what Grandma is trying to say.
Oh my God, it looks like a bloody Jehovah's Witness!
The wolf knocked Grandma over the head and locked her in the pantry with the spuds. And then got into her clothes and climbed into bed. Then Little Red Riding Hood came in, knocked on the door, and walked in. It was winter and Grandma had an extra thick goose down there. Little Red Riding Hood. Waved to Goldilocks passing at the window. Goldilocks. Thank you. Right, Red Riding Hood finally asked the one question the wolf could not resist answering. Let's see what the question was for Little Red Riding Hood.
Why, Grandma, what big teeth you have.
Let's see what the wolf says.
All the better to eat you with, my love.
Little Red Riding Hood thought about this for a while. And then dismissed it as another cheap pickup line. But, hey, it's a children's book. But the wolf jumped out of bed and started chasing Little Red Riding Hood around the bed until the door burst open, and in came the manly woodcutter. Oh, tragedy could ensue. What is the woodcutter going to yell as he strides through the door in all of his manliness?
All right, stop that, you two. That's enough.
Julie and Clary loved the life of it. The wolf, realizing the woodcutter was on his back, was shit scared. Let's see what he has to say.
Go away or I'll throw my duvet on you.
Little did the wolf see that the hunter was already wearing the duvet. Little Red Riding Hood, being saved by this heroic man, she had to go and express her feelings to him. Let's see what she does.
Bloody typical, all the best ones are puffs.
So the wood chopper beheaded the wolf with one swell swoop of his axe. Goldilocks went by again. And the woodcutter took Goldilocks. Along the road to someone else's house, because she had a really nice brother. Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood were together the first time in years. And they sat together and sang the old fairy tale song they used to sit and sing by the fire together. I think it's time to hear what they're going to sing, don't you?
Well, she went down without a fight. She's much better than stupid Snow White.
Well, what a lovely song that was. I have no idea where the pixies came from. That was probably the hash cookies. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, you mustn't talk to strangers, no matter how big and hairy they may be. It's got to keep safe, because one day that big and hairy stranger just could be Gary.